Today we are going to discuss the third noble path factor.
Bhante, I have a little problem with the last treatment, last week's treatment on Nekama, strain, and you have three things. One was lust, then ill will, and then hatred.
I would say cruelty. Cruelty, yes.
Now, normally, from what we know, the three evil roots: greed, hatred, delusion. So, where does ill will come under? Is it delusion or under hatred?
Delusion is the root of both lobha and dosa. Let's say when you are greedy, that means you carry the delusion also. When you are angry or when you're carrying hatred, that means you are also driven by the delusion.
But isn't cruelty lower grade arising?
No, do not connect those three two roots.
No.
They are two different contexts.
So the cruelty comes from dosa.
Yeah.
And ill will comes.
What we can understand is what you call karma, then vyapada, and then vihimsa. That means when you have lust, when you have ill will, then the function of the ill will could be to attack someone, physically, mentally, verbally. That is a different context. But the lobha dosa moha is the fundamental rudimentary context.
So those three is separate.
Separate contexts.
Okay.
Separate ways of given, because they are given as thoughts, good thoughts and bad thoughts, wholesome and unwholesome. Lobha dosa moha were given in a way of understanding the roots of akusalas. When you say akusala, it's a very larger, broad area. All right? Okay, good. Okay, so yeah, good. Yeah, stood up for the question. Samma Vacca. So we've been discussing the Noble Eightfold Path. This was our main theme. Why we started discussing the Noble Eightfold Path was that this was the path which the Buddha followed in order to become the Buddha. He first resorted to the self-mortification. He thought that, like other his pre-Buddhistic teachers, by giving pain to the body, that he could also find the truth. And he found out that is an utter waste of the time. It was better than Brahmanist. The Brahmins were thinking that there is an almighty God who could help us. And the Nibbana, moksha, is with them. But even on the self-study path, if somebody is doing too much on it, that could take anybody to pain. When you have pain, you are not looking for happiness at that point. It's like today's narrative. It's not hard working and making money. It's like smart working. Be smart. You make lots of money. Hard working only specifically focus on one particular area. But when you're smart, you are going like a circle. Yeah? You are approaching not even money, everything. Everything in your life. So then he also touched upon the basic narrative that happiness, some people were too much into happiness. I would say it's not just happiness. It's too much about sense indulgence, sensual indulgence. And of course, it was another extreme avenue because it was extreme indulgence. And then he found out the Noble Eightfold Path. Now, the Noble Eightfold Path, the way how I've been explaining to you, was a little different, as you know. You've been knowing this for many decades, even from Dhamma school, if you happen to go to Dhamma school. I said, our spiritual life starts from the purification of the views. If not, whatever you do from somewhere else, down the path, might not work. We picked up the very famous practice called Samma Sati, right? So if you pick up the Samma Sati down the path as the first thing, without considering Samma Ditti, Sankappa, Vacca, Kammanta, Ajivayama, those fundamental, gradual, ascending, virtues, then you are not going to progress in your Dhamma journey. So we said you have to purify your view first, because a healthy view is important. But finally, view is also a problem. When you have views, it makes us into sort of rationalizations. We rationalize about what we believe, starting from politicians and down to your personal life. We rationalize our views about us, about other people, about the world, about society, about everything, right? But we need some views, otherwise we can't live, in this life. When it comes to the spiritual path, we need to have what we call Samma Ditti. It's a wholesome view that does not deprive you of being able to see the truth, being able to see the reality. Because we don't see at least a literal sense of the reality, seeing things as they are, that perspective. Then it helps you to focus upon what you are doing and what you are doing with other people, and who are you, and all those WH stuff. So when you have Samma Ditti, then what happens? From Samma Ditti, Samma Sankappa arises. Right thoughts, right intentions arises only because you have Samma Ditti. That is interesting, right? It is interconnected. You won't be able to have Samma Sankappa without Samma Ditti, right? Because through the purification of your views, only when you have Samma Ditti only, you are coming up with Samma Sankappa, which you asked just now. That means thoughts of renunciation. Thoughts of renunciation would not come to you just because you want them to happen to you. It only arises when you have the Samma Ditti, when you see the reality as it is. But we see the reality as we think should be. In our own version of reality, our own versions. And then intentions of non-ill will, intentions of non-cruelty. These very precious, beautiful thoughts, intentions come only when you have a purification of your view, Samma Ditti. Today, we are going a further step ahead. Only when you have right intentions, then your right speech arises. That means speech, a good speech, right speech arises only when you go through from Samma Ditti to Samma Sankappa. Speech, one of the very important, I think the most important thing that we all experience on a daily life. The fundamental reason of many problems, many fights, many arguments, right? And where people do many akusalas. I think I already shared with you, even in many sessions, that we make more akusalas from speech than from our mind. I would say I would leave the mind behind, I would say, rather than the body. Right? Because body, at least you think about a little bit. But speech, no, just say whatever. Now, at the time of the Buddha, there were no written records. There were no written stuff. That means your speech now reflects even from the written documents. Right? A message on social media, kind of a SMS, they were reflecting your speech. They were not new to, they were not very familiar with the Buddhist time. At that time, there were no proofs about orthography. So speech, people make 4 bad akusalas through the speech, only 3 akusalas from the body. Interesting. So let's see. Most people ask why Vacca is important. What is Vacca? V long A, C long A, Vacca. Samma Vacca. What does Samma mean? S-A-M-M long A, Samma. What does it mean? Wholesome. Right? It means wholesome. But the most popular translation is right, which has a lot of connotations. Because right to some people might not be right to other people, right? It's a different thing. Hunting is right in some countries, but it's morally wrong, unwholesome, right? And if you go one by one, there's a whole bunch of list about unwholesome stuff. As Buddhists, we feel our interior consciousness about those stuff. Anyways, we could say wholesome. That means we need our speech to be wholesome. It is because we only connect with other people through speech and not just with the mind. So our connection with others is mainly due to communication with words. Therefore, learning the good side of Vacca, Samma Vacca, is very important, not only to attain Nibbana, but also to be a very good person in this life. People who manage their speech are highly admired. Now, according to the Noble Eightfold Path, this is the path that leads to the Nibbana. But the practice is not just focus on Nibbana, right? It is focus on initially to become a better person, good human being. Can you attain Nibbana without becoming a better person, good human being? It is impossible. Because the fruition, the pinnacle, completion of the greater good qualities of any being is the state where you are eligible to become a person who can attain Nibbana one day. If not, that person must have done lots of good karmas, fulfilled a lot of paramitas in a previous life. Do not misunderstand for Angulimala, Sopaka, those people. Don't take them. You take them from, why not? Angulimala killed 999 people, 100 people. And he became an Arahant. Right? Rajumala was going to take her life and attain Nibbana. Right? Who else? And you take extreme cases to generalize your spiritual life. That might not work to many. Because they had done enough paramitas and good karmas in previous lives to become so. It is not a miracle. Right? It is the same. Like, let's say you are a good if you were a mathematician in your last life, and you carry that knowledge forward. Right? In the same way, it can apply to animal traits too. If you are a monkey, you eat like a monkey. Even you are a human, always want to munch something. Keep munching food. Look for the food. Right? Because there was a story in the Dhammapada, right? When the Buddha, I can't remember the whole incident, when the Buddha was giving a Dhamma talk, there were few people doing different things at the time of the listening of the Dhamma talk. That time they were sitting on the ground floor. There were 2 gentlemen. They were trying to dig the surface of the floor. And Buddha said they were some kind of, probably centipedes or somebody in previous life, many lifetimes. And there were a couple of them who were always looking up. Right? And he said they were astrologers, past life, looking at the planets, where the planets are moving here and there. Right? And there were a couple of them at that time in the Dhamma talk assembly hall, there were some flower pots. They were trying to pluck some of the leaves, branches of the, said they were monkeys. Interesting. Only there were a few people who were really attentive to the Dhamma talk, he said. He was not blaming them because that is what they've been carrying forward. So they can't help not doing such. So that means whatever your understandings are being carried forward by you as you finish your journey here, and then you are entering into a new life being changed. So it's very important. So the practice influences different people differently. It's a journey that you personally experience, although you sit with many people, any places. Let's talk about how does speech arise from? Where does speech arise from? Let's take the baby. I normally take the example of baby. Now, when a baby gets to see that mother, I would say, takes another baby into her lap, maybe a teddy bear, this baby who has no reading of any book, who has no knowledge of any Dhamma, who has no knowledge of any kilesa, asava, upakkilesa, whatever, feel jealous. And he or she is trying to get the attention of the mother. And you know, many of you were mothers, right? Sometimes ago, still are. Why is it? How does the thinking structure work for the baby? Now, for you, it might be normal. Let's say when you see someone in your field, maybe at your age, somebody who you know for some time, emulating, outsmarting, outgrowing, you might feel that it may be a struggle, internal struggle, might be, depends on the person. Then kilesas will automatically come down to you, and then it is up to you how you tackle down those kilesas. And then what about the baby? Is there a sort of communication language pattern that includes baby's way of understanding that phenomenon which the mother is doing, maybe inadvertently? There could be. So the formal wording called language, communication, could be not something that we see in that phenomenon. That means when the baby sees that phenomenon, there is a certain thought structure that the way how the baby thinks, a baby that has no idea about other high things, right? Kind of a communication, which is not relevant to, I would say, experimented for the scientists at this point. But for an adult, it's very clear. Let's say you're angry about somebody and you are becoming a mental chatter. That means you are not talking to somebody, but you are telling to yourself, I want to do this thing, that, this, and XYZ, etc., etc. There's a sort of communication happening. Some language is being generated within you. That means with thought structures, there are certain language structures, communication patterns, speech structures happening in those mental chatting, right? That means akusalas can arise, but those akusalas might not be sometimes very grave, very, I would say, very strong, because when you try to express those thoughts through the accepted language, then it could be carrying a weight, because you are trying to do it. But sometimes it will comes to our mind and then it goes away, the way how we structure. That's why the Buddha is somebody called Arahant. Right? You know, the first quality of the Buddha is Arahant. What is the definition of Arahant? What is the definition of Arahant? Every great quality of the Buddha has a definition. Arahant means this. Samma Sambuddha means this. Vijja Charana Sampanna means this. Then Sugato means this. Lokavidu means this. up until Bhagava. What is Arahant?
Worthy.
Huh?
Worthy.
Worthy. That is one definition. There are a couple. Come as it. What was it? Worthy is. Huh? Yeah. That is another one, right? So the one who broken the diameter of the sansaric circle, because we are not able to have not been able to do that. So the diameter. What else? It is said that the Buddha does not make even akusala even secretly. Have you heard that? Buddha cannot make akusalas even secretly, not mentally. Secretly. Secretly. What a precious life is that. Mentally, it is another stage, maybe a stage that is a little forward than that. So, what we have to understand here is that at the level of mental chatting, there are certain akusalas that somebody can create. But the baby situation is very different. The baby does not know any about kusala, anything. But still akusalas arise. The interesting part there is with the baby is that baby becomes jealous because of what mother is doing. Does baby create akusala? No, because why? Baby does not. Baby is not able to make a volition out of it. No volition. It's like the Arahants. Arahants, when they become Arahants, they still go to the Buddha statue and then what a Buddha, they offer flowers. Right? Some Arahants were a little angry sometime. Huh? Have you heard that? Pilindi Vacca. There was an Arahant called Pilindi Vacca. He was an Arahant who was reborn in the Brahmin tribe, clan for many lifetimes. So the Brahmins talked to other folks, outcast, Vasala, because he used to talk to people like that. So one day he saw one man who was bringing some, I think mangoes or something, but he had a habit of asking people, what is inside your cartload? Then the vendor was upset about it because nobody likes to be called as outcast. So he said something else. Because he lied to the Arahant, all the fruits became what he said. Because Arahants had no intention of insulting that man. Because it was Arahant's habit. Because we've been forming habits for many lifetimes. Even you become an Arahant, you still carry habits. The only person who drops all the habits is the Samma Sambuddha. That's why we call Savasana. His enlightenment is attached to a word, Savasana. He eliminates all the Vasana qualities. What are the Vasanas? Sansaric habits at the moment of the enlightenment, but not the Arahants. Arahants only attain Nibbana, but still carry on the Vasana. V, long A, S, A, N, long A, Vasana. Vasana is good in a way because that is why you are beautiful among others. You are unique among others. You may be beautiful, you may be knowledgeable, you may be wealthy, you may be, I would say, accepted by many others. You may be sometimes somebody else. Some unique qualities which you did not practice in this life, but you practice in past lives. Come down to you all the way. Anyways, so what we need to understand is this speech arises from certain mental structures in Buddhism. What are they? We have two Pali words for them. Vitakka and Vichara. What are they? Vitakka, V-I-T-A-K-K-A. Vitakka, and the second stage of that mental development is Vichara. When you make those two, you speak. From today, if anybody asks you, how do you speak in Buddhism? Because I create Vitakka Vichara through my mental conditioning. Then what is Vitakka? Vitakka means this is a supportive factor to your mind for the process between mind and the object. Let's say I see that camera, I have the mind, and there is the object. How does my mind see it? It is because of vitakka helps me to see the camera. Because vitakka is what helps me to mount my mind on that particular object. That means mind cannot see it. Only when the mind is supported by vitakka, mind can see it. In Buddhism. Now I think so far you know that you may have thought that mind can see everything. No, mind cannot see. Mind can see when mind is supported by vitakka. You could say it's a part of the mind. But not that naked, I would say the particular organ called mind, maybe the entity called mind. Now let's say I see the camera from here. Then what will happen? Then there are some ancillary subsequent thoughts that arise because of my subjective experience of other cameras and other people who were like that way. And maybe my objective as a perspective of the camera too, if I'm lucky enough to practice objectivity, vipassana. Mostly subjective stuff. Other cameras, my experiences, my good, bad experiences, they all come up to that process. I mean, once I create a vitakka, then vicharas come out. Vicharas are subsequent thoughts. So then, when the vitakka, which helps mind to see the particular object, let's say food, and I have my tongue, and then I see the food, then the taste, then vitakka helps me to enjoy, for the good sake or for the bad sake, the particular food. And then, once I tasted it, then I will reflect upon that particular experience with my vicharas, subsequent thoughts, maybe from the past, maybe now, whatever. Now, how do what vitakka vichara help me to speak? As you can see here, vitakka is the cetasika that points the mind to a given thought object, connector, mind and that particular object. The connector between mind and the particular object is vitakka. Vichara is the cetasika that keeps the mind engaged on that thought object, generating new thought about it. Example, a bee flying to a particular flower is like vitakka. A bee flying to a particular, I would say, flower. That is vitakka. Then buzzing around that flower and while drinking nectar is like vichara. Okay. So are vitakka vichara always kusala or kusala? Wholesome or unwholesome?
Neutral.
Huh?
Should be neutral.
Should be neutral. Are these vitakkas always good or bad? There must have been different other things supporting this process, right? Yoniso manasikara, ayoniso manasikara. So then you have a choice. Why do I want to see that camera? So I made my mind to see it. If not, I'm not going to see it. Then no vitakkas come and help me to see it. Right? I have a choice. I am becoming choiceless if I don't have calmness in my mind. No self-control about it. Right? We always have a choice. That choice can be made only when you are equipped with the gear of your calmness. But let's say I was made to see it and I happen to see it. I happen to enjoy something. I happen to hear. I happen to smell. I happen to taste. At that point, what is happening is that vitakka and vicharas are making up. And then what happens? These vitakka and vichara at that point can be wholesome or unwholesome. But when vitakka is wholesome, we have another word for vitakka. We don't call it vitakka anymore. How do we call it? Savitakka. Savitakka, we add S at the beginning. When vichara becomes wholesome, we say savichara. Savitakka, savichara. How do we say that? When you attain in jhanas, what do we say? When you try to go away from kamas, lust and akusalas, then you are going to the first jhana. That first jhana has savitakkang, savicharang, piti sukhang, patamajjana, upasampajjaya, savitakka, savichara, not vitakka vichara at that point. So there is the wholesome version that is called not as vitakka, savitakka, savichara. All right, now when you have with savitakka, let's say vitakka vichara, wholesome or unwholesome, vitakka and vichara, then what happens? You are going to create verbal structures, right? It depends on the place where you are. Let's say your cultures, places, right? Then you try to export your speech. So that speech comes from your vitakka and vichara. Any questions so far?
Why is vitakka and vichara unwholesome?
Because it's an ethically neutral word in the first place. But it can carry ethically positive norms. That is when we take it as negative, akusala side, also when we take it as savitakka, savichara, it becomes ethically positive. But generally it is ethically neutral. Like sila. Sila is ethically neutral. We say it good sila, bad sila. That means when you kill someone, also sila. You have heard that before? Akusala sila. When you steal someone's stuff, it's also sila. But akusala sila. Can we bring that to dana also? Good dana, bad dana? Because you know dana is good. Dana. Can we bring that? Yes, we can. The way how people practice it. Right? Now, I could say kusala dana, akusala dana. Someone comes over to the temple and offers a dana thinking that because I served the Maha Sangha, then may I be able to be reborn in the one of the heavens. Any heaven. Then what that person creates is bhavatanha. Craving to be. Craving to be. Then will that be a kusala dana or akusala dana? Unwholesome dana. But still a dana. Still a dana. But is it a meritorious dana or demeritorious dana? It is a meritorious dana. Whatever the way you do, meritorious. Good or bad dana, meritorious. Because dana. But it does not become kusala dana. When you do any good thing, it's kusala, punya, meritorious. Right? But it won't become kusala unless you try to overcome lobha dosa moha, greed, hatred, delusion. Anyway, so everyone's irony is very different. Let's say a very poor person comes to the temple, offers dana, thinking that may I be a rich person in next life. So it's reasonable for that person. I don't blame that, because we cannot find standards in the Buddhist practice. We cannot create standards. Everyone is having a different, a specific, distinct personal journey. Then everybody must be rich people to think that. But if you look at it from that point of view, then we can see good dana, bad dana, means kusala dana, akusala dana. All right.
At the end of the day, do it without any expectation.
Yeah, that is the best way. But not many people can do it, although they know it. Because there are other reasons. It could be money, it could be their opportunity, it could be their way of thinking. Way of thinking can be changed. But there are other physical reasons that they cannot come to that level. Right? So we cannot change at that point. We cannot say no to those people also. But when they learn more Dhamma, they will come to that point naturally. Until then, I am not advising them. They do like this. They self-learn it and they come to know, okay, this is the best way to do. Okay, good. But we don't generalize. We have to do, everybody should do this way and that way. All right, so mental chatting versus talking. Now these are two things. Mental chatting, that means when we are coming up with some ill will or maybe goodwill, we chat with we become self-chatters. Any examples? Have you seen people talking to themselves? Huh? Mental chatting. Sometimes they are not expressive. You don't hear anything, but they talk something. And hopefully that they are not mentally sick people, but they are talking to themselves. Maybe something they are going to do today evening, maybe tomorrow, maybe they are trying to, but more than that, they have this mental chatting, kind of a subtle version of what they are thinking, they are trying to transform into mental chatting. That is one of the very subtle ways of speaking, actually. There you see speaking in a way.
Is thinking too much?
Yes, thinking too much can also cause that. But there may be other reasons that could happen for that mental chatting too. Yes.
What about when people see talking themselves, they are talking to a ghost or an unseen beings, that kind of thing?
Yeah, there are other hallucinations and other issues surrounding that. This can be a mental sickness too, right? This could be a mental sickness too. But initially, this is a normal trait that we may all do it in a certain way, right? It's a normal trait. But when somebody is having a sickness, maybe talking to non-humans, maybe thinking that I'm talking to a ghost, they might come up with some of the mentally sick levels of that mental chatting. But what I'm trying to say is that looking at the roots of the speech, we initially become mental chatters. Actually, this can be a disruptive thing to our peace sometimes. So we need to stop it in a good way, right? Because it may be not good at certain point. At certain point, it could be a good thing. Sometimes there are things we need to solve by us, figure out by ourselves. We cannot tell other people, so we might do it. It's okay. You are trying to negotiate with yourself. Negotiate. You become a good negotiator at that point. It is okay. Huh? Rehearsal. But life is not a dress rehearsal. Huh? You can't go into a shop and then try out like clothes. Go to a fitting room and, hey, is this life good? You won't have time to spend that time. Anyways, that could be the subtle, fundamental level of our speaking. That baby's version is even further than that, very subtle. I don't think even, who are they called? Pathologists? Speech pathologists. I have not been able to find out why this is happening. But anyways, that is the fundamental level. Let's come back to our topic now. It's kind of talking too much about this background. Then let's see the Vacca is arising now. You are creating your speech now. Your speech is fundamentally coming from Vitakka Vichara, whatever you mounted your mind on, and then whatever the ancillary subsequent thoughts that you brought to that particular phenomenon. This blending creates speech. Now, how does this speech relate to our Noble Eightfold Path? That is when you are speaking right speech. When you speak right words, then you are okay. You won't be able to speak right words unless you have right thoughts. Now, in the previous level, you understand, you have renunciation thoughts, you have non-ill will thoughts, and you have non-harassing thoughts, non-cruel thoughts. Are these thoughts very easy to develop in our daily life? Is it easy to develop some renunciation thoughts? Is it easy? It's not. Why it's not? I think we do have some renunciation thoughts sometimes, but not all the time, right? We do. We have to accept that. We do. Not even at the place of dana. Sometimes you might think that one day I'm going to die. I'm not carrying anything forward after that, right? Maybe I should have a good plan, right? You may have lots of virtues which you may have never seen them as they are. You think you are not in that quality, in that level. You may, but for quite oftentimes we do not, because we are always carried out by calm us. Let's say we try to mount us on the, what you call, nekkhamma thoughts, and then non-ill will thoughts. That means we are not carrying any, trying to create any, I would say, destructive thoughts. We are not thinking about harm, I would say, destroying other people's lives. When you have that kind of mentality, the thoughts that are coming immediately are non-ill will thoughts. This may be a challenge to many, because whatever you have, you may think that I want to give up. It's easier than coming up with thoughts that you are not destroying other people, right? So non-ill will is a challenge, but we should be able to do it. Then once you have non-ill will thoughts, the rest will be non-harassing thoughts. That means the function of the non-ill will thought. That means you are not going to harass anybody. You are not going to torture anybody. You are not going to bully other people. It's a very big topic nowadays. Bullying in the schools, universities, everywhere. Bullying. You don't see it, but people are bullying each other by ways of different picking on them, right? So if somebody is not bullying, that means that person has a huge good personality according to Buddhism, right? So when you have these thoughts, you are able to practice Samma Vacca. You are able to practice not lying because your intentions are very good, right? What are the negative sides of right speech? Miccha Vacha, Musavada, which means lying. Number one is lying. That means when you have lustful thoughts all the time, when you have ill will thoughts, when you have cruel thoughts, then you will immediately lie. I think bullies are always lying, Bullies. They would like to lie. Otherwise they can't bully. Okay. If you want to bully, you need to lie. Right? They find some ways to bully. Pisuna Vacha, slandering or talking behind the back. That means divisive speech. Parusa Vacha, hurtful speech. You are hurting other people, whatever the way. Sampappalapa, gossiping, idle chatting, and all that frivolous talk. The Buddha says in one place, Eka dhammang atitasya musavadisya jantuno vitinna paralokasya natti papang akariyanti. When someone lies, that person can break any precept. When someone lies, that particular individual can do anything wrong. Why is it? That person breaks the first precept, kills. Then when he is asked by the others, even law enforcement, say, no, I didn't do that. Then that person may have stolen other people's stuff. Actually, killing is stealing also. When you kill someone, you take other person's life. That is not even possessed by you. Lying. Whatever the bad thing is being done by that person, when he was inquired, he says no. She says no. That means if you lie, you will most probably going to break all the other good things in your life. That means liars are, do we need to treat liars normally or a bit seriously? Liars should be treated seriously. If you have a liar, of course not in your household. Liars should be treated a little seriously, because when you lie, what you are doing is that you are trying to attack this root cause of that good stuff. Right? We have to be honest all the time as much as we could, but depending on the situation, we'll be talking there. Let's talk about any exceptions, any special situations for lying. What is more important in understanding lying? Intention. Yes, it is very important. That means you could still lie without intention or with intention. Could you? How do we understand it? What is the Buddhist idea of lying? Are there any special areas where people can still lie, depending on the situation? Huh? To save a life. And then how you make the lie at that point? A story, an example?
If someone comes to rob you, and someone is trying to kill somebody, and you know that somebody is hiding.
Okay.
You don't tell the person, oh, he's hiding.
Okay, good.
Trying to save you.
That means that has good intention. Okay, to save others, save other beings, you may lie because the intention. And other situations? That means Buddha does not say the surface lying. There are circumstances where the most important element of our speech needs to become the intention. It's not the surface lying only. Right? So we have to understand why we lie. Right? But we are supposed to speak the truth. Right? That is very important. Now I always suggest people, the first thing is that you are not supposed to lie. You try to do other things. Let's say if you can walk away from the situation, maybe if you can divert the attention, maybe the worst case scenario could be go to that kind of approach. Right? Otherwise you will be a liar, right? Lie on the spot. So anyways, so lying has to be done depending on the, we look at lying depending on the situation, based on the intention. Yes?
Bhante, what about chronic liars who may not know the difference in their time? You know that they are lying, maybe out of insecurity, being invaded.
No, that is lying. That person creates karma. So we have to connect lying and karma. Now in that situation, in your situation, that person lies because he or she wants to save some other's life. So no good karma that person is creating. So I'm trying to say surface lying is not always creating bad karma. Now in that case, chronic liars, they know that they are lying just to make money, just to cheat on other people.
Some of them in their mind they cannot differentiate.
Yeah, then there is definitely an excuse for them. Because that's not intentional for them. It's like a mentally sick person. Right? A mentally sick person is to kill someone. A very good example. This happened in many places. I remember that there was one incident where a frustrated immigrant, he saw a happy man who was listening to some songs on the bus, and he killed him on the way because he could not take that happiness. And then he was arrested. He was in the prison for 10 years. On the 11th year, the judge decided he was not mentally fit to understand what he did. He was released. Same incident. So that means mentally sick people, mentally impaired people, they have a point for that. Yes, so I mean that particular activity is very wrong, very bad, so we have to be very careful. We are people. But if you ask me what is their karma, they are not creating karmas because they cannot make the sound judgment about what they do. Initial ethical judgments. And you?
I'm thinking of it. The person is a robber. He has done something bad. So now the police has come. But you are thinking of his family. That if he go to jail, the children, the family, and then now you tell the police, no.
And you are letting the robber go to other houses too at that point. Go. Break in many houses. No, that has to think in very larger, broader way. Not like that way. Now this incident is very interesting that you don't want somebody to be killed. Right? You know that will happen. But that incident you know it. right? Let's say, I would say a poor single mother goes into a shop and then steals some milk carton for the babies, right? We could say in a compassionate way, she has no money, but she has to feed the babies, right? But on the other hand, if all these people are going to do that, rob all these shops, grocery shops, what will happen? So I think that means somebody's not doing somebody's work. Maybe the government has no enough welfare programs for them, low-income people and all that, right? So somebody's mishandling of the duty. Although we see it in a bit compassionate way than that kind of a robber, but still it is something we should not encourage. We have to fundamentally avoid that kind of line. All right. We will discuss some other areas as we discuss. Then slandering. Slandering means pisuna vacha. That means you are trying to divide two people by saying a lie, by telling a lie. You tell this person something, this person something. Maybe you might say a good thing also, right? You were planning to break two people for a long time, right? You found the right tool and then you're going to blast it on those two people. Why this is akusala kamma? Why this is a bad speech? Because you use it to break those people, two people, organization, countries, even political statements, right? Even a written statement, even any kind of statement that divides two people. That is not good. Buddha says it's pretty bad. That is a akusala speech. We have to always get away from such. Parusa vacha, this is definitely hurtful speech. Why do we speak such, hurtful words? Because we are in anger, right? Whenever you are angry, you may speak such words, right? Now, racism is one of the very biggest issues in some countries. Why is it? They are very good people until they become angry. Till they become angry. They are very good people. Okay, hello, how are you? But when they become angry, they go to the roots of people. It is somewhere ingrained in their life, trying to put people down. That means, whatever happens to us emotionally, we should be able to know what we talk to other people. That is a talent, kusala talent, right? So, we should be able to see what will happen if I speak this particular word, if I say this particular word to this person, that place, all that, right? Always think before you talk. Do you think before you talk? Normally? Always? No. Very good. Why is it? Anger is more powerful than you. Huh? Why is it our Dhamma journey is not that strong? If that is said so. That is why I am saying Dhamma practice has to be in your daily life, not only in the retreat. In the retreat you are okay, you have made your mood okay, I'm good, you are good even before you come to the retreat in the morning, because you go into the retreat. So that has to go to your normal life, daily life, right? Because only when you are able to incorporate that practice into daily life, you will be successful in your Dhamma journey. Otherwise, you will be successful when you are in the temple, like this. Or yesterday when you are in the retreat. You are a very successful person, very spiritual person. Once you go out of the temple, you become aspiritual, amoral. What is the price of that timing? You're wasting your time, right? That's a waste. Feeding your mind with a lot of knowledge, which is also unnecessary at some point, because we have to free the mind one day. Anyways, these are very elementary stuff that we have to know and then understand. So we should be able to, manage our anger fundamentally. We should be able to manage. If we are not, that means there's something, a gray area in our life that has not been addressed by us in our practice. How many of you have written the thoughts that come to your mind when you are angry on a notebook or something? Have you ever written anything? Take a piece of paper when you are angry, write down everything what you feel. At that time, not after. Don't do the post-mortem, Do it at that time. Post-mortem, you are okay, normal. Write it down. Then see it later. Oh, what a cruel person was I. Right? Then only you understand the evil person inside of you. That is something that you should investigate. Otherwise, you only see the good person. Easy good person. Right? So, hurtful speech arises from not managing your anger, mostly anger. It has attachments to jealousy also, maybe regret also. Regret is a big issue. For that we have to study Abhidhamma. In Abhidhamma it says, dosa is the root for anger, jealousy, and then remorse. Why is it? Why remorse comes from dosa? You are struggling. I should not have done it. I could have done it. Shouldn't have, couldn't have, what if stuff. They all come from not you feeling good about what you did. Okay, I should not have done it. Now I worry about it. Now you are having hatred towards what you did. You are creating self-hatred towards you. Right? Now, what we have to understand at that point, the Buddha says, you did it. You can't change it now anymore. Only when you feel a little bit of remorseful, but do not stay in that moment of remorse. We need remorse. Why is it? To understand who was I at that point. Is it only humans who have remorse? No, even animals do have remorse. Dogs have remorse, definitely, what they did. Not even dogs. Snakes. At the Buddha time, there were a lot of Jataka stories. I remember there's a Jataka story where 4 animals, I can't remember all animals, 4 animals took precepts. So they were questioned by, first there was a male bird who was questioned, why did you take precept? Because we had a breakup. Interesting. So I was really upset about it. So I thought I take precept, whatever maybe precepts at that time. Then there was a big cobra took precept. The reason was he was going somewhere and then he saw a very big cow, a sacred cow. He didn't know he was a sacred cow. But the sacred cow stepped on him for some reason. So he actually then stung the cow. Then he died, passed away at the same time. Then it is said the cobra went away and looked at what's happening after that. He saw a lot of people come, respect the cow. He was very remorseful. I attacked the wrong person. Then he went and then took precepts. Right? So there are interesting stories in Jataka stories. They may be mythological or not, we don't know. They come down to us in the text. But the idea here is that we have to understand the motive and how people are driven by anger at different times. So remorse. Now here remorse, because of remorse, these animals were good. Because they were remorse for a short time and then did the right thing. But humans, remorseful for the whole lifetime. Thinking about what happened. But at least they could go to the next level. It happened, I can't change it. I understand the life. I move on with the life. Move on with your life. That is Buddhism. Right? So, anger, jealousy, remorse. They all are carried out by, driven by those. So parusa vacha comes from there. There are some people, whatever they say is going to be a hurtful word. There are some people, because they are not very much careful about what they talk and speak. Right? And then sampappalapa. Sampappalapa means words that are not meaningful, beneficial, timely. Right? So, such people. Sampappalapa. We should never waste our time. Because there are people who might think, we have another 10 minutes, let's talk something. They go in that approach. It's not that we have time. Whatever we speak has to have to be interesting and then insightful, right? So, what do you think about gossiping? Do we need gossiping? Do we need to gossip? Let's say you are a senior person, you have nobody to talk. Everybody goes to work. You go to coffee shop. You meet people over there. Is it a good thing? Yeah, it's a good thing. Yeah. I mean, to go to the coffee shop. It's a good thing. And whatever you talk in the coffee shop depends on how you're going to carry out this particular absence of sampappalapa. Right? Because everybody needs to connect to the like-minded people, good people, right? But not waste. So Samma Vacha is the complete absence. That means being truthful and always trying to speak with words that unite others. You are very much concerned, respect other people's lives, your life, everybody's life. You speak very pleasant words. Whenever there is a very person who can speak pleasant words, everybody likes that person. Everybody likes to hear good words, right? And sampappalapa means absence of, I would say, gossiping, idle chatting. This is interesting. Now we come down to another aspect of speech. Noble silence. What does it mean? Noble silence. That means not speaking. Now when you are angry with somebody at home, with your whoever at home, do you practice noble silence? Or do you secretly look at that person? What is next? Is it noble silence or just silence? That's not noble silence. Noble silence means that you understand why you are not talking. I think you are not understanding when you have a clash like that. You're simply not talking. You don't know how to bring back the conversation.
Cold silence.
Cold silence, yes. Yes. Here what we understand is noble silence. You know the purpose of why you are not talking. Maybe to minimize unnecessary release of your words. It's good. Right?
But what further arguments?
Yeah, that could be, reduce further arguments and all that. Sometimes when you talk to many people at the same time, and when you talk too much in your household, you will become the monster. Right? It is not good. Right? So just talk moderately, not too much. But the Buddha says to the monks, monastics, Sannipatitanang wo bhikkhave dvang. When you are meeting together with other monks, nuns, you can do two things. One is Dhammiva kata. Dhamma talks about the Dhamma, or Ariyova tunhibhava, noble silence. That's for the monastic, not for you. For you, it will be working in a way how you understand why you are not supposed to talk at certain points in your life, probably in your household. It's good to cleanse some of the unnecessary thoughts, right? When you keep talking, you may hurt other people. You may lie. One of the very bad things is that when you keep talking, you may mostly lie. Because you want to brag yourself, you want to self-praise, you want to add different versions. Right? Better talk only when it is necessary. What are the supporting path factors which help Samma Vacha? I think I already discuss about it. As you can see here, now these are the 8 path factors. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Right view, right intention, right speech, right action, right living, right effort, right mindfulness. Right. Each path factor must be practiced along with these 3. You can see on this side, right view, right effort, right mindfulness. We have to take the same example to Samma Vacha. Samma Vacha must be practiced with Samma Ditti, Samma Vayama, Samma Sati. How can we do that? How do I know this is bad speech, this is good speech? Because of Samma Ditti. I can figure out the wrong side and the good side. Good side from the wrong side. That means right speech from the wrong speech. Just because I figure it out, can I practice right speech? No, I need some energy, some effort. If I am not putting effort, can I speak good words? No, I still speak bad words. Like yesterday I told you, I know it, but I cannot see it. Janato passato. I see it, I know it, but I should see it at the time, real time. Just because we know Dhamma, it is not a guaranteed path to practice it. You must make it onto the practice. That is a big, I would say, gap in many people's lives. They know a lot of Dhamma, but that does not go to the heart. Stay in here, in the mind. It does not go there, for whatever the reasons. So, we need some energy, some effort in making it a reality. Now, just because I could figure out right speech from the wrong speech and I have enough energy, can I still practice smoothly my right speech? That is not still enough. You are doing good at this point, but still not enough. Why is it? I need to understand where and what time I am going to talk right speech. How do I know it? Only when I have right mindfulness. Otherwise, how do I understand the proper time? Let's say now, in an hour of time, let's say in a household, there is going to have a conflict between 2 people. Then you are planning, I have to tell the truth in 1 hour. You are planning now. If I'm not making that, there's a huge conflict, commotion is going to happen. So you have to plan. How are you going to plan? You know this is truth, you have energy, but you are not using it at the right time, then still the fight is going to happen. Then, Samma Sati. As I said to you yesterday, right mindfulness is a good negotiator in a hostile situation, in a hostage situation. You are in a hostage, but that's the best negotiator to get rid of the situation. All right, so then these 3 supportive factors are mandatory if you want to practice any of these 8. Samma, I would say, be that right view, be that right intention, be the right speech. We're not going to talk about rest now. So they must be supported by these 3, otherwise you cannot practice smoothly. You may practice a little, but not smoothly. I'm not reading all because of the time. What is talking in moderation? This is a Pali word. If I could make it a little bigger. Mita Bani. Mita means moderation. Bani. Mita Bani is a skill. Talk in moderation. Right? If we can talk in moderation, we are very good in our speech. Very interesting part. Now we come down to the very most interesting part, how to practice Samma Vacha in our daily life. I quote 3 suttas to talk about it. Number 1, Vacha Sutta, Anguttara Nikaya 5.198. The Buddha says, always check the following 5 before talking. Do I speak at the right time or not? That is the first thing that we have to think about before we talk. Timing, is it a good time? Number 2, do I speak of facts or not? Are these facts or not? 3rd, do I speak gently or harshly? Maybe the tone also, right? The gentleness has a tone. Some people talk in a loud tone and people are like, What's going on here? Maybe a very good thing, but said in a very high tone. Right? Have to be very careful because some people don't like it. It is like what happened to that monk I told you. Maybe the person who is talking in good faith, but the other person capturing it wrongly. Why is it? Because that person didn't understand the way how the other person is capturing it into his or her life. It's like the monk who practiced loving kindness but could not practice to different certain animals. His practice is good, but it was not successful, not complete. Gentleness is very important. When you speak, I think that cordial level of speaking, gentleness, softness is very important. Do I speak profitable words or not? You might say, I'm a good marketing person. I always talk profitable words. I can convince many people, even scammers, good speakers, call you at wrong times or good times. But this means beneficial talk, Dhamma-wise beneficial talk. Do I speak, most importantly, do I speak with a kind heart or inwardly malicious? Kind heart. Very important stuff. So these 5 must be practiced before you talk, each time you talk to somebody. Even you talk to yourself from today. Because if you mental chat, you talk to you. Right? Isn't it? When you talk to other people, must be definitely practice. This is one very good way to practice Samma Vacha. Number 2. This sutta was given to Buddha's son, Rahula. Ambalattika Rahula Vada Sutta. Majjhima Nikaya 61. Reflect on your speech before, during, and after. Before, during, and after speech. 3 times. Not even 1 time. 3 times. Before, during, and after. See? How much right mindfulness do you need that? Let's see how the Buddha says. Rahula Pacha Vekkitva. See, this wording has been given 2 times. Pacha Vekkit, having reflected. Kayena Kayang Kammang Kata. You should do your bodily actions. Pacha Vekkitva. Not one word. Having reflected, you should speak. Pacha Vekkitva, Manasa Kammang Kata. Having reflected, try to think. Now let's see how it is going to work for before talking. Before talking, during talking, after talking. Let's take 1. Whenever you want to perform a verbal act, speech, you should reflect on it. This speech, I would say, I want to say, would it lead to self-affliction, any harm to me, to the affliction of others, or to both? Me, others, and both of us. A lot of people think only to me. For me, it's good. Other people are getting cheated. I'm getting more, all that. So, to me, to others, and both. Is it an unskillful verbal act? Is it musavada, parusavacha, sampappalapa, or pisunavacha? With painful consequences, painful results. If on reflection, you know, it would lead to self-affliction. Affliction means any negative results. To the affliction of others or to both. It would be an unskillful verbal act with painful consequences. See? Finally, it would be skillful verbal action with happy consequences, happy result. Then any verbal act that sort is fit for you to do. Now, what does it mean? That means this right mindfulness is a key factor even we speak. A lot of people only practice right mindfulness in the Anapanasati meditation. They try to find where is my mindfulness. See the right mindfulness. It is such a very inseparable quality that you have to bring into your speech. Before you talk, I understand what will happen now, during, after. You reflect very well. Your speech is going to be very refined, very good to you and to other people. Will you become a very, I would say, kind of a constructed person this way? Some people think, no, I just have to talk what I think. I don't want to care about other people. We just have to be natural. Yeah, that's a thought. But that natural, I would say, nature should be blended with this approach. Let's say you want to be honest to other people, you want to talk. Then why don't you blend this structure into that natural way of speaking? Blend this into your bodily action. Blend this into your mental action. Then everything will be refined. You're going to be really practicing Samma Vacha. Then during, same thing, during and after. Third one is Samanya Pala Sutta. This is about monks, but the Buddha says there are 10 topics. They are very good to converse. Apicchakata talks about wanting a little, but now we talk about in today's society how to make most of. Apicchakata. Santuttikata talk about contentment. Pavivekakata talk about happiness through seclusion. So there are 10 types of talk about wisdom, talk about release, talk about knowledge and vision of release. So these are kind of good subjects to talk in your life. Finally, the most powerful messages are conveyed through words. They can take the form of a speech, a presentation, or even an expression of love. Your words can make someone happy or sad. That is the biggest area that we have to address. We can make everybody happy or sad because of our words. As a result, words can be either honey or a knife. Your words are like honey when you talk with Samma Vacha. When spoken with the wrong speech, your words are as sharp as a knife. Maybe a double-edged sword, kind of a razor knife. Which one would you prefer? Make a choice today. Any questions?
Bhante, what if we were to correct somebody? They have to be stern in a certain way. Otherwise, the person won't get a message. And it's wonders, you might have the intention of what this person did, what is not right. Then you want to tell him, okay, you have to correct him. If not, it's going to go on every day and you get yourself irritated for nothing.
Do I speak that at the right time? Yes, if it is at the right time, should be okay, and plus your intentions are okay, and if you think that approach really works for that person. Sometimes we try to say in a little bit harsh way, not harsh way, kind of a not a pleasant way. So we have to know whether it can work or not, because different people are different. Yeah, trying is good, but have to understand, really will this work out? And do I speak that at the right time? Because some people take it wrongly. Your purpose might not work at that point. So we have to, very, very good point. I mean, it's good. Your approach is very good because you're going to help out somebody. Your intention is to help that person out. But it has to be done according to some of these fundamentals. Timing, your intention, minimizing the hassle, minimizing the danger, minimizing arguments, then only you say it. Otherwise, simply don't say that. They will take it wrongly. It will be another topic of conversation from that day onwards.
You see, if what Chen you is not acceptable, then I don't know what to do. For example, okay, I just clean the floor, and this person eat the biscuit and just don't care after that thing on the toilet. They just sweep it down to the floor. So I just make it out, look, I make an effort to clean the floor. Okay? So nobody gets any trouble from ants or anything. And you saw me cleaning it, right? Then what do you do? If you don't point it out, I think it's no point of being silent. Rather than giving myself, anger building up.
Yeah, so you are talking this from the third aspect of the right speech, not hurting and trying to minimize that issue, right? Do you consider that person's mentality? Maybe that person might be a mentally sick person at a certain point. Then there's a choice for that person. It's a good, let's say it's a good person, it's a mentally healthy person.
He's a healthy person, but then he's inconsiderate.
No, I'm not talking the exact example here. That could be different. I'm saying you want to pass the message not to do this continuously, and I'm cleaning this arm. So you should see what is a good time to say this to him or her. a good time, because not people are ready all the time to accept other people's advices. That is a very big point to consider. Yes, so if you look for a good time, if that person is going to be very opening up for you, then it is a good time to say this in a kind way. But if you think that person is not good for kind stuff, maybe you might say in a little different way. In order for you to execute your purpose, you have to consider all these different factors and then say. So saying this is okay. There's no problem. But you should do it with some considerations. Because most people don't like to accept other people's advice if you tell it at the wrong time. Maybe they like to hear it from somebody that they respect.
But I thought it's quite a normal common sense.
Yeah, common sense is not common sense to many. That's the issue. For you, it's a common sense, but not for many.
That's what it was. It was just like an error. If you accept it, fine. If you do it again, I will just sweep and shut up.
Yeah.
Maybe you put it in notes.
Do we create
Yes.
do we create karma? If we try to, just like what she said, do we create karma? Because that
In telling that person?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
no.
You are not creating karma, but you are not solve the problem. Because it's an internal problem in a household.
Yeah.
Let's say somebody is spitting in the household. Huh? One example, somebody is messing around. You really want, it's a good thing to say, otherwise it's going to be a messy place, right? But how do we do it without any big issues? So we have to find a good way, maybe to consider how best I can pass this message to that person. But there are some people, they are not going to change whatever you do. So maybe it's a struggle, I know. It's a struggle. Just because you know Buddhism, you cannot change everybody, yeah? So it's like that. But at least if you could, you can do in a friendlier way. You could still do it, but in a friendlier way. Yes.
Bhante, how would you see the cognitive dissonance from the point of speech? You know moral is not right, but because of the career or maybe situation, you have to speak or the other way to favor, but you know it's wrong.
Then you said the answer too. You said the answer too.
Should I say, no, I'm not going to, you need to lose your job?
Well, few weeks ago, there was a lady over here. I think she asked me that she's working for the pest control, and then how is that work going to be okay with Dhamma, right? And I explained to her as necessary. So I think if you can make a choice for your work, definitely you should do that, right? You should do it.
Jobless now.
Yes.
Maybe from a health point of view, you know that drinking is not right, but people will say that drinking is good for you to forget pain or forget it's good to brain release. You know it's wrong, you hurt your bones.
Yeah, I think just to save your good consciousness, better to avoid anything that you feel complications in your practice. It is better, because finally you're going to pay off for all that. If you think it's a problem. Some people, they don't take it as a problem, but one day they will understand it. So what I think is, if you can make a choice, make the choice. But if you cannot make the choice, then try to minimize it. Because you can't do a career change right away in one night, right? Because you haven't studied to that, maybe you haven't been able to change, Yes.
I think these situations, personally I've experienced probably a lot of friends, brothers, sisters here also. You are caught in between, let's say, three person, someone pass a comment, not so nice. The other person know that, or heard that comment, he came to ask you, what did he say about me? So you're caught in situations where should they tell the truth? which then you will probably ended up become the what we call Vacca, where it's hospital conflict. You don't tell the truth, then you become a Musal, you become a lie. And situation like that, I think sometimes we call, should you answer? Then the people end up fighting. You probably say, no, he was complimenting you, then it becomes which is a lie. So to minimize the conflict. So how should we do in this situation?
The answer is look at the bigger picture and act on that. The bigger picture is you cannot change that first person who lied about, who did that wrong thing. Now the second person may be a friend of you, right? Now you may be the third person, right? It is not that you are caught up between these two. It is because you are caught up between not understanding how to behave and how not to behave. So I think it's the look at the bigger picture. Bigger picture is that you don't want to make it to the next level as a mess, right? Because how many things, like you said, how many such information are coming to us and then go away from us every day? What other people say, they're bringing all the trashy stuff to us, and we know it. Some 2-3 people are having issues, but we are not going to react to them. So what you're supposed to do is that look at the bigger picture and act according to that. If you think it is something, a life-threatening issue, you may have to tell it. Seriously. If it is an assault, kind of a very big issue, maybe a demotion of, you may have to tell. But small stuff, you can actually ignore them. Do not get caught up between the literal surface truth and the lie. That is not, we are talking in Buddhism. In Buddhism, we are talking about the intention and the bigger purpose of what we talk. In other religions, they only talk about the surface reading of the truth or lie. Right? Look at the bigger picture. Now, when you read news, when you watch news, do you take the literal version of the news? We know the intentions of the media, the big pharma, politicians, we understand. But we're not reading that from what they actually say, but we know the behind ulterior motives. In the same way, look at the bigger purpose of that particular action. If it is really harmful, you have to act on it in a safe, comfortable way, proper way. If it is really trashy, just ignore it. There's nothing to be concerned of. Yes?
Bhante, can you please elaborate on latent tendency that promotes the intention? Coming up with the words that are wholesome and unwholesome.
Latently, we all have akusalas, asavas. We have asavas primarily lie latently. You know, they are latently. But for those people who don't manage, their latent level come up, they uprise, right? So what we can do for that is that have a good practice. Let's say anger rises, the moment anger rises, should be able to respond to anger in a proper way. Understanding that I'm angry now. I think that RAIN methodology is a good one, which is produced by the Insight Meditation Society in the US. RAIN, R-A-I-N. RAIN, that stands for a couple of words. R stands for recognize. So the moment your anger, jealousy, whatever the negative arises, recognize, this is anger. And then A stands for accept. Not even this is anger. Now I have the anger at the moment. I am angry. I'm getting angry. Third, R-A-I, yes. Investigate. Investigate in many channels. Physically, psychologically, emotionally, whatever the channels, you can see what is going on in my body, in my mind, because I accept and I see that I'm angry, I'm jealous, I'm remorseful, and I'm indignant, irritated, or whatever. Finally, the most important part, N, R-A-I-N. N stands for non-identification. You are going to deconstruct you from the particular event. You are angry for something with somebody. And you are connecting that person and you. You are constructing a phenomenon. And you are deconstructing. You separate. Right? You deconstructing. At that point, what is happening is that you are practicing anatta. not self. You are not taking it as self. That is a good way to minimize your latent tendencies. But you should be able to practice it. All right, we'll take only one more question and then we'll transfer the merits. If you have. Samma Vacca. Overcoming defilements. So, yeah.
Avoidance. How do I check that avoidance doesn't lead to aversion?
Can you take the mic closer? How do I?
There was avoidance.
Avoidance.
So how do I check that avoidance doesn't lead to aversion?
Okay. Very good question. Now, when you avoid certain people and certain things, you have to do it without creating anger. Some people do it in a very harsh way. From today, I'm not doing anything, I'm not talking to you. It's not that kind of avoidance. It is an avoidance you do consciously because you're looking at the bigger purpose of your life, spiritual life. You don't need to create more akusalas. So you are simply, still you are friendly, but you create some boundaries for such people and such things. Then you understand, I'm not creating akusalas at that level. It is a skill. Do not develop anger towards the avoidance side. We avoid. It's like do's and don'ts. When you are not doing certain things in your normal life, are you creating anger too? No, I don't think so. Let's say you are not going to this particular place. You are not talking to this particular person. You are not making anger. In the same way, it's like a don't. A do side, that means you are thinking. It is a simple avoidance that you are not bringing them closer to you that much, but you still practice metta towards them.
I have doubts at times whether the sending of metta was something that can be intended everywhere it goes.
You have doubts about?
So that's why I was asking.
I can't hear you properly. Yes.
I have no problem in sending that.
Okay.
Including them in the metta. So does that mean it's okay because I'm able to do that?
Yeah. But if you say that avoidance can be a problem to you, that is an issue. Then you say on the other side you can spread metta to anybody unconditionally, but you say avoidance can create some anger to you. That means there is a problem in somewhere in the practice. Maybe you see it from a side, but in your actual practice you maybe not. Maybe like that. Yeah.
Not yet. There is no aversion yet, but
simple dislike. Simple dislike is not anger. Now we have likes and dislikes. Right? Do you like to go to a restaurant that you don't like to eat? Is it anger? Is it dosa? I don't think so. It's simple dislike. But if you develop more dislikes, more stronger version of dislike, then anger, then dosa will arise. That is a problem. All right, so let's wrap this up at this point. So next week we're going to be discussing about Samma Kammata. So we are going into the physical action part now. What do you call mental action? Mental part was Samma Sankappa. Then speech part was today. Next Monday is going to be talking action part, bodily action part. May all the good karmas which been accumulating today be transferred to all the departed ones who passed away in the name of all of us. May they be well and happy. If they were reborn in a place of discomfort, pain, may they be able to release from those places and then to be reborn in places like happiness. Finally, may all the departed ones attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Idammi ñāti nang hotu sukhita hontu ñātayo. Idammi ñāti nang hotu sukhita hontu ñātayo. Idammi ñāti nang hotu sukhita hontu ñātayo. May all the good karmas be shared by all the devas, nagas and mahitikas. May they be well and happy. May they protect and bless all of you, including your family members, for good health, quality of life, prosperity and safety. because we all need all these things for a smooth Dhamma journey. Finally, may Devanaga Mahidika also attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Ettavatacha ammehi sambatang punya sampadang sabbi deva anumodantu sabba sangpatti siddhya. Ettavatacha ammehi sambatang punya sampadang sabbe bhuta anumodantu sabba sangpatti siddhya. Ettavatacha ammehi sambatang punya sampadang sabbe satta anumodantu sabba sangpatti siddhya. Akasattha bhummatta devanaga punyantang anumoditva chirang rakkhantu lokasasanang. Akasattha bhummatta devanaga mahiddika punyantang anumoditva chirang rakkhantu desanang. Akasattha bhummatta devanaga mahiddika punyantang anumoditva chirang rakkhantu mang paranti chirang rakkhantu tvang sadati. In this sansaric journey, may we be able to be in the company of Kalyana Mittas, noble friends who can help each other for the development, deepening of our Dhamma journey, and not with the Papa Mittas. Thinking thus, we're going to make the wish. Imina punya kammena mami bala samagamu satang samagamu hotu yava nibbana pattiya. Finally, may all the good karmas which we've been accumulating today by discussing about the third noble path factor, Samma Vacca, help support all of us to attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Abhivadana silissa niccang vaddha pachayinu Chattaru dhamma vaddhanti ayuvannu sukhang balang ayurarugya sampatti sagga sampatti mevacha atu nibbana sampatti iminati saminchatu. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Wish you a good night and see you next Monday, same time.